In the farthest corner of the galaxy, where stars were few and the darkness deep, a tiny planet called Virelia spun quietly in its orbit around a dim sun. Virelia was not a rich world or a powerful one. Its people lived simple lives, mostly farmers and engineers, far from the great battles and politics of the galaxy's big powers. One day something strange happened on Virelia. The scientists in the small research center noticed a signal. It was faint at first, a weak pulse of sound and light coming from deep space. But the signal was unusual. It was not a message anyone had heard before. The pattern was different and the language was strange. Dr. Alan, the lead scientist, stared at the glowing screen with worry. "This is no normal signal," he said. "It's a distress call." The news spread quickly through the small base. Everyone was tense. A distress signal meant someone was in danger. But where was it coming from? And who was sending it? The scientists worked hard to decode the message. Slowly, they realized the signal was not from Virelia or any known nearby system. It came from the edge of the galaxy, from a place no one had explored well. The message was short but urgent. "Help us. We are running from something terrible." Word of the signal reached the Galactic Council, the group of leaders from many different planets and species who tried to keep peace in the galaxy. The council was gathered in their great hall on the planet Ivaris, a shining world full of tall towers and bright lights. Councillor Talara, a calm and wise member from the planet Vexar, spoke first. "This signal is a warning. We cannot ignore it, but we must be careful. It may be a trap." Others nodded. The galaxy was full of danger and deception. Some species sent false signals to lure enemies or gain power. Councillor Harn, a strong leader from the warrior planet Dracon, growled, "If it is a trap, we must be ready to fight. But if it is real, we must help." The council decided to send a small team to investigate. The team included diplomats, scientists, and soldiers, all experts in their fields. Their ship, the Starhawk, was fast and well-equipped for long journeys. As the Starhawk prepared for launch, tension grew throughout the galaxy. Messages flew between planets. Some feared war, others hoped for new friends. Meanwhile, back on Virelia, the scientists kept listening to the signal. It repeated over and over, growing stronger. The message seemed to change, adding new words. The newcomers were trying to say more, but their language was difficult to understand. One evening, Dr. Alan and his team finally made a breakthrough. They found that the signal came from a massive ship, unlike any ship recorded in the galaxy's archives. The ship was ancient but still moving through space, sending the distress call. What kind of beings could live on such a ship? Wondered Dr. Alan aloud. Suddenly, the signal stopped. The silence was heavy. The researchers held their breath, waiting for the message to start again. But it did not. Then, an emergency beacon lit up on the star charts. The location of the ship was marked, a place near a dark nebula known as the Shadow Veil. No ship had dared to go there for many years. The nebula was a dangerous region filled with storms of charged particles and strange space creatures. The Starhawk was sent toward that location. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, the crew looked at the star charts and the silence of space. No one spoke much. They all felt the weight of the unknown ahead. Among the crew was Captain Mira, a brave and skilled pilot from the planet Rin. She was known for her calm mind under pressure. Mira stared at the controls, thinking about what they might find. "Whatever is out there," she said quietly. "It's scared enough to send a warning to the whole galaxy. That is not a small thing." The journey was long and filled with quiet moments. The crew spent hours studying the signal, preparing for every possible danger. Suddenly, the Starhawk jumped out of hyperspace near the edge of the Shadow Veil. The stars were dimmed by the thick clouds of the nebula. The ship's sensors struggled to see through the storms. Then a shape appeared on the scanners. A huge ship, dark and silent, drifting slowly. The crew gathered around the main screen, watching the ghostly shape. It was enormous, bigger than any warship or cargo vessel they had seen. Its design was strange, with sharp angles and smooth curves, like a living creature made of metal. Captain Mira ordered, "Send a message. Tell them we are here to help." Seconds passed like hours. The ship did not respond. Then a small shuttle appeared from the huge ship and moved slowly toward the Starhawk. The crew held their breath. The shuttle docked. The doors opened. A figure stepped inside. The being was unlike any other species known in the galaxy. It was tall and thin, with pale skin that almost shone in the dim light. Its eyes were large and full of fear. The being's voice was weak but clear. "Thank you," it said. "We are running from the Devourer. It destroys everything. We need help." The crew exchanged worried looks. The name Devourer was unknown, but the fear in the being's voice was real. Captain Mira stood and nodded. "We will help. Tell us everything." The story was just beginning. The being who had stepped from the shuttle introduced herself as Lyra. Her pale skin almost glowed under the Starhawk's lights, and her large eyes held a mix of fear and hope. She came from a distant star system called Elisera, a place few in the galaxy knew about. Captain Mira listened carefully as Lyra began to explain. "We sent the distress signal because our world is dying," Lyra said quietly. "A terrible force is chasing us. It is called the Devourer. It destroys everything in its path. Our people fled on this ancient ship, but we cannot outrun it forever." Mira glanced around the room. The crew exchanged serious looks. None of them had heard of the Devourer before, but the fear in Lyra's voice was real. She wasn't here to trick them. The ship Lyra's people arrived on was enormous. It was not built for war or speed, but for survival. Its ancient metal had survived centuries in space, but the damage from long travel was clear. The Starhawk's engineers immediately began to scan the ship for damage. While the engineers worked, the diplomatic officer Kellen spoke gently with Lyra. "Can you tell us more about this Devourer? What kind of enemy is it?" he asked. Lyra's eyes darkened as she answered. "It is not like any creature or machine you have known. It is a force of destruction. It moves through space like a storm, destroying stars, planets, and all life. It does not stop. We call it the Devourer because it consumes everything. When it arrives, nothing remains." Kellen nodded slowly. "How long have you been running?" "Almost a century," Lyra said. "Our homeworld was the first to fall. Many others followed. Our people escaped on this ship hoping to find help or a safe place to hide." Captain Mira stood. "Your people have been very brave to survive so long. We will do everything we can to help, but we need to know, how do you fight something like this?" Lyra looked away for a moment. "We do not fight it. We run. We hide. We try to stay out of its path. But it is always coming. We have lost many ships and many lives." The crew of the Starhawk realized how serious the situation was. The Devourer was not just a threat to Lyra's people, but possibly to the entire galaxy. The diplomatic officer asked, "Have you tried to warn the other systems? Have others seen this Devourer?" Lyra shook her head. "No one believed us. We sent messages, but they thought we were mad or lying. We are the last survivors trying to find help." Captain Mira made a decision. "We must bring this information to the Galactic Council. They need to know what is coming. But first, we will help your people repair this ship and keep you safe." The Starhawk's engineers worked day and night. They fixed broken systems, restored power to some of the ship's damaged sections, and helped the Elysians recover what little supplies they had left. During this time, Lyra introduced the crew to others from her people. They were thin and pale, with delicate features and eyes full of sadness but also determination. They told stories of the Devourer's path of destruction, how it had left entire star systems empty and silent. One engineer, Jorik, found something unusual in the ancient ship's computer. "Captain," he said, "this ship's technology is very old, but there is one thing strange. It has a hidden database with information about an ancient weapon, something that might help fight the Maître d'Œuvre." Excitement mixed with hope spread through the crew. Lyra explained, "Our ancestors built this weapon long ago, but we never used it. It was a secret kept safe in the ship. Maybe now is the time." Captain Mira nodded. We will study this weapon and see if it can be used. But first we must find out more about the Devourer. The diplomatic officer arranged a message to the Galactic Council, explaining the situation in detail. The council members reacted with alarm. A force that destroyed entire star systems was a threat no one had prepared for. The council decided to send more ships to help investigate. But there was fear. Many wondered if the galaxy was ready for such a threat. Meanwhile, the Starhawk crew and the Elysians studied the data about the Devourer. They learned it was not just a ship or a machine, but a kind of living energy, able to move through space quickly and consume matter to grow stronger. One scientist, Dr. Saran, explained, "The Devourer is like a cosmic storm made of energy and particles. It destroys everything it touches. Its power is beyond anything we know." Captain Mira and her team realized time was running out. The Devourer was closer than anyone imagined. One day, while scanning the nebula nearby, the sensors detected something terrifying. A massive shadow moved inside the clouds of the shadow veil, a shape so large it blocked out stars. The crew felt a chill. "This is it," Mira said softly. "The Devourer is near." The Elysians prepared their people for what might come. The alliance between the Starhawk's crew and the Elysians grew stronger. They knew they had to work together to face the coming darkness. The Starhawk sent out another message, a warning to all nearby systems. A terrible force is approaching. Prepare for the worst. The galaxy held its breath, and the silent beacon that had started it all now seemed like the only hope in the endless dark. The warning from the Starhawk echoed across many star systems. The name Devourer spread quickly, whispers of a dark force moving through space, destroying everything in its path. For many it was hard to believe at first. Some thought it was just a legend or a story to scare children. But as more signals came in, showing empty systems and destroyed planets, fear grew. On the planet Everus, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. The Great Hall, filled with leaders of many species, buzzed with worry. Counselor Talara, calm but serious, stood. "We face a threat unlike any before. The Devourer is not a weapon or an enemy we can fight with ships alone. It is a force of nature, and it is moving toward the heart of our galaxy." Counselor Harn, the warrior from Drakon, clenched his fists. "We will not let it destroy our homes. We must prepare our fleets. We need weapons and we need soldiers." "But our weapons may not work," said Dr. Saran, the scientist from the Starhawk crew. "The Devourer is made of energy and particles. It is not a physical ship we can damage easily. We need new technology, or it will consume us all." The council agreed to send out researchers and diplomats to find allies and resources. They also agreed to share all knowledge about the Devourer. Back on the Starhawk, Captain Mira and her crew worked closely with the Elysians to understand the ancient weapon hidden in their ship's database. The weapon was called the Starfire Pulse. According to the data, it could release a massive burst of energy strong enough to disrupt the Devourer's power, but it was untested and dangerous. Lyra explained, "Our ancestors built the Starfire Pulse to protect Elisara from many threats, but it was never used because it could destroy whole systems if it failed." Mira nodded. "We have no choice but to try. We must find a way to stop the Devourer before it reaches us." As the days passed, the Devourer moved closer. Its presence felt across space. Sensors picked up strange energy waves and disturbances in star systems near the Shadow Veil Nebula. One of the Starhawk's pilots, Rin, reported, "Captain, I see something on the edge of the nebula. It looks like a shadow, but it moves like a storm." Mira looked at the screen. The shape was enormous and dark, surrounded by swirling clouds of energy. "That is the Devourer," said Lyra softly. "It is coming." The fleet gathered near the Shadow Veil to prepare. Ships from many species arrived, armed but anxious. They knew this was not a normal battle. Captain Mira met with the commanders. "We face an enemy that cannot be destroyed by normal weapons. We must use our minds, our technology, and our courage." The Elysians shared what they knew about the Mao Devourer's patterns. It moved fast and consumed matter to grow. The only way to stop it was to weaken its energy source with the Starfire Pulse. But there was a problem. The Starfire Pulse required a powerful energy core to activate. The ancient ship's core was damaged and could not provide enough power. The Starhawk's engineers worked day and night to find a solution. They studied the Devourer's energy waves, hoping to create a device to absorb and redirect the power. This time the alliance grew stronger. Soldiers, scientists, and diplomats shared ideas and skills. Old rivalries faded as the galaxy united against the common threat. One night, while studying the Devourer's energy signals, Dr. Saran made a discovery. The Devourer's energy fluctuates, she said. There are moments when its power weakens, but only for a few seconds. Captain Mira smiled. That is when we must strike. Plans were made to use the Starfire Pulse during these brief weaknesses. The fleet would protect the Starhawk as it moved close enough to fire the weapon, but the Devourer was unpredictable. It sent out waves of energy that disrupted communications and sensors. The fleet struggled to stay together. The tension was high. Every moment could be the last. Then a scout ship reported a horrifying sight. The Devourer is consuming a small planet, the pilot said. In seconds, it will be gone. The news hit the fleet hard. They realized the true scale of the danger. Captain, Mira addressed the crew. We cannot wait. We must act now, or more worlds will be lost. With the Starfire Pulse ready, the Starhawk led the fleet into the heart of the Shadow Veil. The Devourer loomed ahead, a storm of dark energy swirling with terrible power. Dao. Crew held their breath as the moment to strike drew near. The galaxy waited, hoping for a miracle. The dark clouds of the Shadow Veil loomed ahead as the Starhawk and the Allied fleet held their positions near the edge of the nebula. The vast emptiness around them was heavy with tension. Every ship, every pilot, every crew member knew what was at stake. The Devourer was close and time was running out. Captain Mira stood on the bridge of the Starhawk, staring at the swirling dark mass on the sensors. The image was unlike anything she had ever seen. A living shadow moving with terrible power. It was as if space itself was being torn apart. We need a plan, Mira said firmly to her officers. The Starfire Pulse is our best hope, but we cannot activate it without enough power. Jorik, how is the energy core? The engineer's face was serious. Still damaged, Captain, but we've made progress. We can boost the power with the fleet's combined energy, but it will take precise coordination. Mira nodded. Prepare for the energy transfer. We will need everyone's help. Meanwhile, the Allied commanders gathered in the Starhawk's conference room. Representatives from many species, some proud warriors, others brilliant scientists, stood side by side. Old enemies now shared the same mission, to save the galaxy. Counselor Talara from Vexar spoke first. We must put aside all past conflicts. Our survival depends on unity. Commander Harn of Draken grunted but agreed. Let's focus on the enemy, not on each other. The Alliance set to work, sharing technology and knowledge. Engineers worked to link their ship's power systems to the Starhawk's energy core. Pilots trained together to defend the ship when the pulse was fired. Lyra and the Elysians moved among the crew, offering support and sharing stories of survival. They inspired hope and courage despite the fear. Days passed in preparation. The Devourer's shadow grew larger on the sensors. It was moving closer to the heart of the galaxy, leaving destruction behind. One evening, as the fleet rested, Dr. Saran gathered the scientists. We've found a pattern in the Devourer's energy waves, she explained. It pulses every 30 seconds. That is when its power weakens slightly. Captain Mira listened carefully. That's our window to fire the Starfire Pulse. But the plan was risky. The energy transfer could overload the systems and the Devourer's attacks would be fierce. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Starhawk. The Devourer had launched a powerful energy wave hitting the fleet's shields. We're under attack, shouted the weapons officer. The fleet scrambled to respond. Fighters rushed forward, trying to block the wave, but many ships were damaged. Captain Mira barked orders. Defensive formations, Protect the Starhawk at all costs. The Elysians used their knowledge to help shield the ships, creating energy fields that absorbed some of the attack. In the chaos, the energy transfer began. Ships connected their power cores to the Starhawk through energy links. The bridge lights flickered as the system strained. Jorik worked quickly. We're at 80% capacity. The crew held their breath. At the moment of the Devourer's next pulse, Captain Mira gave the command. Fire the Starfire pulse. A brilliant wave of energy shot from the Starhawk, cutting through the darkness. For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Then, sensors showed the Devourer staggering. It's working, Lyra whispered, but the victory was short-lived. The Devourer responded with a furious blast, shaking the fleet. Ships were thrown apart. Many were lost. The Allied fleet regrouped, battered, but alive. Captain Mira looked at the crew. We have heard it, but it is not finished. We must keep fighting. The alliance grew stronger. Species that once fought each other now trusted and depended on one another. The Devourer had brought them together. Among the crew, stories of bravery spread. Pilots risked their lives to save others. Engineers repaired systems under fire. Diplomats soothed fears. Lyra found time to speak with Captain Mira. Your people are strong and kind, she said. Together we can defeat the Devourer. Mira smiled. I believe that too. We fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone. As the fleet prepared for the next attack, hope burned brighter than fear. The battle was far from over, but the galaxy was no longer alone. The space around the Allied fleet was full of broken metal and flickering lights. Some ships had fallen. Others floated without power. The attack from the Devourer had left deep wounds, but even after all the damage, the Alliance still stood. Inside, the Starhawk, Captain Mira looked tired but focused. She had been awake for hours, working with her officers to fix systems and regroup the fleet. Status report, she asked, her voice calm. Engineer Jorik answered quickly. The Starfire pulse did serious damage to the Devourer, but it's recovering. Our energy core is stable again, but we need time to recharge it. Mira turned to the main screen. The Devourer was still there, a massive storm of swirling dark energy. It moved slower now, but it was far from finished. Dr. Saran stepped forward. We weakened it, but not enough. If we hit it again at the right moment, we might be able to destroy its core completely. But that next shot will take all the power we have left, said Jorik. If we miss, we won't get another chance. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew what was at stake. In the lower deck, the Elysians worked with the other engineers. They helped rebuild power links and patch damaged systems. Lyra moved among them, offering quiet words of encouragement. One of the Elysian elders, a wise man named Ilan, spoke to Mira privately. Our people have carried a hidden piece of technology for centuries. It was meant to be used only in the worst time, he said. Mira's eyes narrowed. What kind of technology? It's a core stabilizer. If connected to your ship, it can double the power of the Starfire pulse, but only once, and it must be activated from the inside by someone who stays behind. Mira frowned. That sounds like a sacrifice. Elan nodded slowly. Yes. The person inside the core chamber cannot escape, but it may be the only way to destroy the Devourer. The crew gathered to hear the plan. There was a heavy silence. As the truth settled over them, someone would have to give their life. Before Mira could choose, Lyra stepped forward. I will do it, she said quietly. No, Mira said firmly. You've already lost so much. But your people still have hope, Lyra replied. Mine have run for so long. If I can help end this, it will give meaning to our survival. Mira hesitated. Then she placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. You're brave, but we'll find another way. Later that night, Mira sat alone in her quarters. She looked at a picture of her home planet, green fields, blue skies, peaceful cities. She remembered why they were fighting. The next morning, Captain Mira called the entire fleet. Her voice was steady and strong. We stand at the edge of the final battle, she said. The Devourer is weak but still deadly. We will strike again together, and this time we end it." Cheers filled the airwaves across the fleet. Pilots prepared their ships. Engineers checked power links. The energy buildup began. Unknown. To the others, Lyra slipped away during the preparations. She entered the core chamber and connected the Elysian stabilizer. The door sealed behind her. Back on the bridge, Jorik noticed the power readings rise sharply. "Captain, we're getting more energy than expected." Mira turned to the screen. A message blinked on her console. It was from Lyra. "I'm inside. The chamber. I'm ready. Don't try to stop me." Mira's heart sank. "Lyra, why?" Lyra's voice came through the speaker. "Because someone has to make the first step, for peace, for life." Mira didn't have time to argue. The Devourer was waking up again. Its dark energy began to rise, sensing danger. Dr. Saran shouted, "Now is the moment!" Mira gave the order. "Fire the Starfire pulse!" A beam of pure light shot from the Starhawk, brighter than anything seen before. It struck the Devourer, at its core, where its swirling energy was weakest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Devourer shuddered. A deep rumble echoed across space. The dark clouds began to tear apart. Bright light pierced through the shadow. The swirling energy lost shape. One by one, the outer shells of the Devourer collapsed. Its scream echoed across the stars. Not a sound, but a feeling in every mind. A cry of something ancient, angry, and defeated. Then silence. The Devourer was gone. The crew of the Starhawk cheered. Across the fleet, voices shouted with joy, with relief, with tears. They had done it, but Mira didn't cheer. She walked to the core chamber. The doors were sealed, the stabilizer glowing dimly. Lyra was gone. Mira placed her hand on the cold metal. "You saved us all," she whispered. The Galactic Council later declared that day a galactic holiday. Ships were repaired. Worlds were rebuilt. The alliance that had formed in fear now stood in strength. And in the heart of the new united galaxy, a statue of Lyra was built. Tall, peaceful, and full of light. She had not come to conquer. She had come with a warning, and she had left behind a legend. The galaxy was quiet now. The dark shadow of the Devourer had vanished, replaced by calm stars shining brightly in the vastness of space. Planets that were once threatened could breathe again. The Alliance had won, but the cost was not forgotten. "Captain," Mira stood on the bridge of the Starhawk, gazing out at the peaceful stars. The battle had ended, but her heart was heavy. The loss of Lyra, the brave Elysian who sacrificed herself to save them all, weighed on her. The Galactic Council had called for a great gathering on the capital world of Ivorus. Representatives from every species came to honor the fallen and to celebrate the new unity born from the struggle. Mira walked through the crowded streets of Ivorus, feeling the mix of hope and sorrow in the air. Statues and monuments were being built, telling stories of courage, sacrifice, and the power of cooperation. At the Grand Plaza, a statue of Lyra stood tall. Her face was calm and kind, her eyes looking toward the stars. People from many worlds paused to pay respect, leaving flowers, lights, and messages of thanks. As the crowd gathered for the ceremony, Counselor Talara stepped forward to speak. "Today, we remember not just the victory over the Devourer, but the spirit that saved us, the spirit of unity, courage, and hope. We honor those who gave their lives for peace, and we promise to stand together, stronger than ever." Mira listened, feeling the weight of the words. She knew the real battle was not just against a dark force from space, but against fear and division among species. After the ceremony, Mira met with the leaders. The Alliance was no longer just a temporary team. It had become a new force for peace and progress in the galaxy. "We have a choice," Mira said. "We can return to our old ways, fighting and fearing each other, or we can build a future together." The leaders agreed to form a galactic union, a council dedicated to cooperation, exploration, and defense against any future threats. Back on the Starhawk, Mira reviewed the data from the battle. The Devourer was an ancient energy being, born from a forgotten war. It had been drifting through space for millennia, consuming planets to grow stronger. The sacrifice of Lyra had disrupted its energy core, ending its hunger. But the galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. "We must never forget the power of unity," Mira said softly, "and the cost of peace." Days turned into weeks. The fleet repaired their ships, and the Alliance sent aid to worlds recovering from the Devourer's destruction. Among the many new friendships formed, trade routes opened, and knowledge flowed freely between species. On Elisara, the Elysians mourned Lyra but celebrated her bravery. Ilan, the Elder, spoke to his people. "Lyra gave her life to save many. Her sacrifice is a light that will guide us forever." On the Starhawk, Captain Mira made a promise to her crew. "We are the guardians of this new dawn. We will explore, protect, and unite. The darkness will never return while we stand together." As the ship launched into the stars, a message came through the comm system. "Captain, new signals have been detected from beyond the outer rim. Unknown ships, but not hostile. They seek contact." Mira smiled. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and wonders, and now it was ready for whatever came next. The stars sparkled with hope. A new era had begun.